Welcome to the
Big
NBA
bad.
Strategy Show. It is Friday, November 22nd. This is brought to you by Yahoo Sports, the presenting sponsor of this show every single morning. And I am here, joined by Lofty, Dave Lockwood. What's going on, man?
What's happening, brother?
Ready to get back into this. I sat out yesterday. I took a mental health day for DFS.
If you played, would you have faded 150s Giannis?
Yeah, that's the first question I want to ask. To all those out there that faded Giannis, how'd you feel when you woke up?
If they woke up, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. That was a rough one. That was an absolute rough one.
But it shouldn't have been.
Oh no, I mean for anybody that had that idea, it was a rough one because it was terrible. So
That's why you don't project blowouts, man. Like people,
even
I know
if you
people
do,
say like, "Oh, you can definitely project blowouts." All right, fine. But so you got Luka Doncic, right? You got the Warriors in the Dallas one, right? And he still had 75 fantasy points. So what's that doing for you?
they're not going to get there on the backs of Dante DiVincenzo, you know?
Right. Right.
Who do you think's doing that blowing?
Exactly.
I've got lineup study pulled up. Let's take a peek at that from last night. I'm going to go ahead and grab us to rank us down.
While you do, insanely high scores for a 2-gamer. Holy shit, man. It was out of control.
Yeah, that's what happens when some of these crazy dudes go absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, after game one, I did an MME yesterday. I played 10 lineups. I felt like it would have been too much degeneracy to go 150.
I hear you.
And I had Scal. This is the core. Scal, Bledsoe, McCollum, and Giannis. And I'm like, oh, dude, we're beautiful. We are rocking. And then I realized that wasn't anything. Like I had Devin Booker everywhere, and I think I ended up losing money on the night, despite having like a 50 plus from a $3,600 guy, and 2-game slates will do that to you. You got to be perfect, man.
You really do. 4 people chopped the 100K
I saw that
on DraftKings.
It was going back and forth from one lineup to the next. And I think that, I don't know if the next one finished second, but there was one that had like 10 people tied for it. So yeah.
Yeah. So there were 37 people tied for 5th.
That's it. That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah. It was crazy. And they were in first for a minute there. It was like $500 each.
Top scorer. Surprise, surprise. Giannis Antetokounmpo. 80.75 fantasy points. Probably a necessity.
Effing variance, man.
Yeah. He was 80% owned in this contest. Alex had him in 149 of 150 lineups. Adam actually came in under the field, so I'm sure he hates himself.
Oh, he DM'd me. He DM'd me and he goes, after all that, he's like, I somehow come in on 75% Giannis. And the reason he said was, it was like he got double screwed because he decreased Labicier's minutes. So decreased those minutes meant less Giannis and also less Scal.
Yeah.
So yeah,
he had 30,
I don't know where he finished. Like, I don't know what his night looked like, but yeah.
Not positive. Well, at least not in this contest. So Adam had 31% Scal, slightly under the field. Alex had 91% Scal.
Yeah. Scal was a great play, dude. Even with Tolliver starting.
Yeah. He had to, you had to figure that he was playing at a minimum of 20 minutes. And on a
total outlier game,
on a 2-game slate, yeah, for sure. On a 2-game slate at 3,600, like that's all you need to hear.
Right, exactly. And by the way, when I say, or when you say outlier game, yeah, it's an outlier game, but he was still one of the best value plays on the entire slate, regardless of starting or not. So yeah, you don't expect him to do that again, but for Scal to be in the winning lineup is not surprising at all, even if he had 30 fantasy points.
No, not in the slightest. Most owned guys yesterday, Giannis, Brandon Ingram second, just behind Giannis, just under 79%. Basically hit the same sort of value, went for 50. And then CJ McCollum and Devin Booker. Booker was the guy that submarined a lot of people. Fourth most owned, went for 4x, only 82% owned by Alex. This is a spot where old shit my money was good to go. He also, Adam had 93% Bledsoe. That worked out pretty well. But yeah, Scal, 15.6x, the only guy to go 10x.
Yeah, man.
Big numbers.
Crazy.
Winning lineup last night.
Huge day.
Drew Holiday, JJ Redick, Brandon Ingram, Giannis, Scal, Bridges, Melo, CJ McCollum.
Would you look at that?
Look, Melo went for 32.75 at 3,900. That'll do it.
My thinking on Melo yesterday was there's no way he plays only 24 minutes again. He was in some foul trouble the first game, and they really don't have any alternatives. He ended up playing 29 minutes, which is I had him at 28, so got close. It wasn't that big of a surprise to see Melo get the big run. Now the big thing is, I know you said you didn't play, but I'm sure you followed along with some stuff. We got a surprise dropped on us because Tolliver and Gary Trent Jr. were starting. Nasir Little continued to come off the bench, but Scal, who a lot of us thought would start, didn't. And Anthony Simons, who started last game and played 36 minutes, only played 17 minutes, had a dreadful game.
Yeah.
So and you clearly Terry Stotts was doing something different. You could argue it was because of Giannis and the Bucks, or you could just say they've been losing every game they play, and he wanted to do something different. Bazemore only played 18 minutes too.
Got to give a shout out to Eddie on this one. He basically opened live before lock last night saying that he expected Tolliver to start and hadn't heard it really anywhere in the industry.
There you have it.
That's a hell of a call for him. Came out then later on the show that it was going to be happening, or at least I think it did. But yeah, he called that out in like the first 5 to 10 minutes of live before lock. That looked like a very, very prescient call. 4 guys that chopped the 100K last night. Single entry, 2 entries, single entry, 9 entries. Good work, boys. Good work. Let's see.
It's not too surprising on a slate like that, but
no.
But yeah, it's. Wait, did you say none of them 150? None of them maxed?
None of them got more than 10 entries in this.
Oh,
contest.
Wow.
I heard 1, 2, 1, 9.
Oh, that's pretty wild. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Now that I should rephrase that. Now that you think about it, if you're putting 150 lineups in with 2 games, you would think that, but that goes to show you how like people say, oh, if I could just play 150, I'd be smashing. It's another example of how it's not what you think.
No, well, it's the moment that anybody says that is the moment I know that I'm going to be able to be in this industry for another day. 10 people of the 37 that duped up the second best lineup were 150 maxers. Any guesses as to what Giannis's ownership was for only the people that played 150 last night?
95%.
91.
Yeah.
91.
As it should have been.
Yeah.
That goes to show you that if you're someone that faded him and you were like heavy on that fade and you see that, it wasn't just bad luck that Giannis went for 80 and it hurt you. Like, no, that was the play flat out. First guy in the lineups.
Yeah. It's lock button. Not a lot of lock buttons, but lock button.
I say it all the time. Like, I make plenty of mistakes and have plenty of bad calls. That was one where, and I also said, yes, I don't like, I try and stay, I keep my comments to a minimum when it comes to ridiculous comments I see in the YouTube chat, but certain things you just can't let that go because you don't want other people seeing that and being like, oh, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. Let me see where he's going with this. Maybe that's the right move.
Yeah, you don't, that's not going to be helpful.
No, not at all.
Both Booker and McCollum were under the public numbers. McCollum and Booker for everybody owned roughly 62% of the time. Booker was 61 in the 150 max. McCollum only 53, which I think is interesting, especially considering he went bananas, 68 fantasy points, second highest scorer on the slate.
What did Booker finish with?
Fantasy total 46.
Yeah.
Which is like, wait, you said Booker, right?
How many fantasy points did Booker have?
33.75. I read Bledsoe's number.
Colossal failure.
Yeah, it's not going to be helpful, that's for sure. Amazing.
There you have it.
Amazing. So, looking to get back into it today, 10-game slate. Let's go through the goods, though. If you want to sign up at Yahoo, they are the presenting sponsor. I've got a link to Emacs Cash Building Blocks article. And it's today's. It's not yesterday's. It's the man, your old pal, grinding it hard, getting this one out for the early show. So go check out Emac's article now. I just dropped the link into YouTube chat. At the bottom of the article, you will find some information on how to sign up at Yahoo. Click the link, use the promo code AWESEMO, get up to $30 Yahoo Sports rewards points, YSRPs. You want to sign up at Yahoo? That's the only way that you can become a baller.
Love it. There it is.
They run their baller contests. That's their top contest in basketball, their top contest in football. I assume it's their top contest in golf.
Yeah. Thing.
They're running 10 max contests pretty regularly. They are running 150 max with CSV edits now, so they're making it a little bit easier on people to play a little bit more lineups. But you're still going to be playing less management fees. You're still going to be playing slightly softer competition. I think it's a great place to start your day if you're looking to take a dip into the waters of DFS. So go check out Yahoo. Check out Emac's article, which I dropped the link into the chat for. You guys can go and sign up yourselves. Use that promo code AWESEMO. Or sign up at awesemo.com. Go to awesemo.com/join. Use the promo code NBA Strategy. Get 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus. We got it all. NFL, NBA. No baseball right now, but it's coming back sooner than it seems. NHL right now. Jake killing it. Golf, NASCAR, soccer. Projections will be up later today, people. MMA. No card this week or next week. Thank God. Didn't want to write about it this week. We've got sports betting content. We're doing everything. You can check it all out. Use that promo code NBA Strategy. Get 50% off your first month. You can get a package that covers everything. You can use that code on individual sports, just NBA. Even if you want to just dip your toe in the water and just do it for NFL, you can still use that NBA Strategy promo code. Makes me look better because I'm on this show every day. That's all I got. That's all I got.
I like it.
I'm feeling good today. There is no value on the slate whatsoever right now. I have set ridiculously low target scores across all 4 sites. We're going to have a lot to talk about because stuff looks dirty.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because there's an incredible amount of high-end talent.
There's a staggering amount, honestly.
Yeah, it's not, I did the early bird with Dan Strafford, and like it's unbelievable how at each position I'm saying, well, I don't like any value here, but if you have $200,000 in salary cap, I love this guy up top. I love him. Every position's got stacked at the top and nothing at the bottom. It's tough for sure.
It looks like I've got my screen set up now for everybody. I hear the complaints. I've figured it all out. We're good to go. Everything should be on the screen. Shouldn't get yelled at anymore. My apologies for a couple days. I'm fantastic at producing, guys, but sometimes I just don't want to do it in the morning.
Don't tell people that.
Well, I mean, like, recropping like the screen capture on the fly, like it takes, then I'm not listening to you. Tricky.
Yeah, and you want to listen to me.
Exactly. Where else can you get these sorts of takes? Where's Super Draft, Josh? Not in this sheet right now. I should probably get it added, but be perfectly honest, man, I'm running out of real estate on here. I show too many things. If anybody out there thinks that they have a better view for the data that I show on the screen, hit me up. I'm happy to change it up, but I think I show the things that I deem most important. Josh, do you have a spreadsheet guide anywhere? I certainly do not. I just sent it to Lofty like a day or two ago. It is a robust workbook.
It's absurd. In honestly the most flattering way possible.
I was digging for a compliment there.
Oh, you don't say.
All right, let's get into this. 9:48.
I should have just been like,
it's fine.
Yeah, he sent it to me.
It's fine. I haven't opened it yet.
Collecting dust.
All right, we've got an hour and 11 minutes. We've got 10 games. I figure it'll be 10:50 by the time we get to Dallas, Cleveland, because that Sixers one's probably going to slow you down.
Well, let's give it a whirl.
All righty. Pistons and Hawks. Pistons, 115.25 implied total. Hawks, 108.75. So big-time favorites here for Detroit. We'll start on that Pistons side. Guy that stands out most to me right now, Andre Drummond, 9,600 on FanDuel, 8,500 on DK, 15.6 on Fantasy Draft, $51 on Yahoo. One of my favorite centers, if not my favorite center today. I felt like I was over projecting him pretty aggressively. I didn't know if it was just something where all of the data without Blake was weighing too much. So I hopped on Wowie this morning. I pulled up all of Drummond's numbers with Blake on the floor since last season. And it turns out everything I had in there was spot on, which makes me still like Andre Drummond. Not to mention, he should have very little struggle with the Alex Len, Bruno Fernando, Damian Jones trio. How do you feel about Drummond? And if you're a Blake guy, how do you feel about Blake?
Yeah, I don't expect Drummond to have any trouble. The problem I have is like the guys up top, Luka, Hard, and Trey. I'm just reading off some guys that I have projected above him: Davis, Leonard, Embiid, LeBron. I think I have 10 guys that are projected from a fantasy point perspective above him. So that's the only thing that makes it tough. Like I think the price tag is really fair, but I guess you're saying you could make him a priority here. I don't know if on this slate I'm going to be able to do that. There are so many plays that I really like, and while you're correct in saying that Blake coming back isn't going to completely stifle his performance, it definitely affects it enough where I'm taking a second look at, hey, good price, but is it good to the point where I'm just going to load up on him and sacrifice getting similarly priced talent that I might like better?
So let me be a little bit more specific. I am more talking FanDuel than DraftKings.
Well, that would make sense.
Where a solo center is going to be a little bit different. But I do have him. So this group of Drummond, Westbrook, Jimmy Butler, Paul George, all in like the low 8s. Those are the guys that I think are priced down the most. I think they're the most efficient guys relative to their salary. Now we've got AD, LeBron, Luka, and Harden all 10K or above. Not like I think that those guys are problematic. I just think that core 4 that I just mentioned are underpriced.
Right. And I agree with that. Joel Embiid's also $9,300 on DraftKings though. And that now he already said he's going to play both ends of this back-to-back. So does that mean that
so weird?
What's up?
His minutes have been so weird.
I know, dude, he's averaging 1.62 DraftKings points per minute. Like he's been extremely effective.
Yeah.
But the minutes are all over the place. That's the concern I have is really, is he going to play 27 minutes and 27 minutes because of these back-to-backs? That's where I worry a little bit. So I still think Joel Embiid at that price, 9,300 on DraftKings is just crazy to me. So there are guys that are priced around him that make it difficult priced around Drummond that make it more difficult for me to get there. Okay. Blake, I think, is fine. But once again, it's another position or it's another spot where there are a lot of good mid-range guys. So this Detroit frontcourt just kind of it's a casualty of the slate in a sense. And I don't know how much I'm going to actually get there on DraftKings at least.
Yeah, I have no interest in Blake on DK at 7,700. No. He's more in play at the same price on FanDuel. But I can't. That's just, again, like I read off 4 guys that like $500 more than Blake that I would just rather have. I would rather have Drummond than Blake on DraftKings given their prices. Right. Other value like Luke Kennard, Langston Galloway, Bruce Brown on DraftKings are all viable value options for the way that this slate is set up right now. I think Langston Galloway for 4K on FanDuel, though, needs to be paid attention to until we get more news. One of the few options you can pay down for today that should get a decent chunk of time.
Yeah, it's gross, but you have to at least consider it. I mean, he's played 38 and 40 minutes over his last 2 games.
Right.
Production-wise, you're not going to get peripherals from him. You're going to really have to rely on scoring, which sucks. But when you're getting him at that much of a discount, you're basically forced into considering him. Do we know that he's going to get the same minutes? No, but with Tony Snell out, I think you're going to continue to put it this way. The opportunity is certainly there. And that's exactly what we're playing for. So I think it's a perfectly reasonable play. And while Galloway is not someone you're going to feel good about ever, give him a shot to play 35 to 40 minutes in regulation. And that's all you need.
Yep. One thing I wanted to point out, because a lot of people in chat were saying, I can't play Drummond with Blake on the court. So they've played 2,070 minutes together. the start of last year, and I mean literally together, when they are both on the floor, Andre Drummond has averaged 1.32 fantasy points per minute. So if Drummond played I've been in for 34 minutes. If he played every single minute with him, that's 45 fantasy points. I've got his FanDuel projection at 48. He obviously doesn't play every single minute with Blake Griffin. I think that's a pretty reasonable spot to have him. And I think people are probably overrepresenting what it means to have Blake Griffin on the floor with him.
Yeah, and let me be very clear. I already mentioned this, but I guess I have to mention it again. I don't think that because Blake is back in action that Drummond can't be played. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is because this slate has so much else that I really like, Drummond just isn't going to work his way, I don't think, into a lot of my lineups. But okay, if Blake was out, would Drummond be the top play on the slate at this price? Absolutely.
Yep.
So it's not like we don't think Blake affects him significantly. He does, but not enough to make him not in play. It's just DraftKings has a bunch of other guys that are priced inaccurately too.
Absolutely. Completely agree with what you just said. Yeah, if Blake were out, this would be
It'd be the easiest play on the slate.
Let's not forget, this is a pace-up spot for Detroit against a terrible defense, and they have the third or fourth highest total, one of the few teams at 115 or above. This is a really nice offensive environment for the Pistons right out of the gate.
Yeah.
On the other side, Hawks are basically two guys and two guys only. We've got Trey Young. We've got Jabari Parker. I think Jabari is pretty, I love Jabari as a value, 6,900 on FanDuel, 6,100 on DK. I prefer Trey Young's $9,700 price tag on FanDuel to his $9,400 price on DraftKings. The $46 tag on Yahoo is also pretty appealing. If I'm getting to anything from the Hawks, it's probably only those two guys as of right now.
Yep. Talked about it on the early bird as well. Jabari Parker has seen his price come down more than $1,000 over the last week on DraftKings. That's enough to give him a look here. Outside of that, though, it's going to be tough. Trey Young, I have no issues with Trey Young. Once again, though, would you rather just pay up for a Doncic? We can get there. But no, Trey Young and Parker are the two guys that I have even remote interest in. And I don't know, maybe people are going to look at DeAndre Hunter and say, man, 27 and 11 last time out. Fool's gold, fellas. Yeah. Fool's gold.
Still at 0.68 FanDuel points per minute this season.
Yeah.
He's going to have games he's going to have games that look decent. He's going to have more games that look terrible because that's what rookies do.
Right. Exactly.
I can safely skip the rest of the Hawks.
I have no issues moving on here, but I do think Jabari Parker's price is very friendly.
As do I. Also, in case it matters, Evan Turner is probable. He was the direct backup to Trey Young in their last game. Literally, the only minutes that he played were the minutes that Trey Young was off the floor. Just putting that out there. Washington and Charlotte. Wizards 119.25 implied total. Hornets 113.75. There's another game with two pretty piss-poor defenses. We'll start on the Wizards side. Bradley Beal for 9,800 on FanDuel. Looks pretty good to me. Dude just plays a ton. $43 on Yahoo. Probably his best price in the industry. I think the biggest piece of conversation we need to have right now is, what do we do with Mo Wagner at 4,300 on FanDuel, who might just be the best center value today, even in 22 minutes?
Yeah, it's crazy because I actually think Thomas Bryant is viable too.
Yeah.
I just don't know what his minutes are going to be. I had a lot of Thomas Bryant in some really good lineups the other day. And, first half, he had 15 fantasy points. All right, whatever. Second half, he comes out there, drops 4 points, 3 assists, 4 rebounds in the third quarter alone. And all right, we're good. He's at 20, 25 or something. He should surely be able to get me up to at least 35, maybe more. He never came back out, dude.
Yeah, not at all. Not a single second.
He never came back out because Wagner was playing. I'm assuming it had a lot to do with how he was playing. They clearly split this. By the way, he looks like he's 12.
He's shooting 52% from 3 this season.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It really is. And 16 for 31. He's he and Thomas are splitting the center minutes. So like those are the only positions the two of them are playing. And that means that you're not playing both of them together at all. But there's definite possibilities that, hey, Thomas has a great game, or sorry, Brian has a great game and he plays 30 minutes, or Wagner off the bench has a really good game and he plays 28 minutes. That's the concern. But, going with one of them against Charlotte, I have no issues with. The truth is, I just don't know which one is the right one and who's going to get minutes because I don't think anybody knows until we see how Thomas Bryant comes out of the gate.
If they're basing it on performance so far this year, I took a look at it earlier today. We were actually talking about this in Slack. Mo Wagner's been like, plus 15 or something in the 22-minute or 200+ minutes that he's played so far. Thomas Bryant has been like negative 15 in player impact plus minus. It's sort of the same split. So from an on the court perspective, Wagner's looked pretty good. It's obviously small sample size. They're just going to run both of those guys out there because they're both young and they don't have anything to play for. So you want to try to figure out how these pieces work. I think it's really difficult to look into anything here. But if value doesn't start opening up for the slate, Wagner is a guy that like I'll oddly take a look at, particularly on FanDuel, where he's $400 cheaper than he is on DraftKings. That's how little value is out there right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And by basing it on performance, I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if it's, because this guy's playing well, he stays out there, or hey, because he matches up best. But again, we don't know. So
they're not making any decisions based on anything that I just said. Not like because it's my opinion or anything, but like they don't give a shit what his player impact plus minus is.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's not what it is. Is it? No. Hey, he's got 10 and 5 in the third quarter. Let's keep him out there.
We went on an 8-0 run, and he's still on the floor, and he's not gassed. So
yeah,
go ahead.
Exactly.
That's what the Wizards are trying to figure out what works.
Right, no question.
Little bit of Troy Brown for 3,900, I guess, is fine on FanDuel. Again, this is just because we don't have value out there right now. It's few and far between. I don't see the Wizards as terribly appealing on DK. What do you think of Isaiah for 5,100?
I do like Isaiah Thomas. Once again, and this is going to be a common theme throughout the show for sure. There's not a lot of value. No. So 5,100 on Thomas seems reasonable. Last time out, 24 minutes. That sucks, but you've seen, and this is what's important. You saw a 29 game, a 33-minute game, a 29-minute game, all that over his last 5 games played, telling me that at least he has that upside to play 30 plus minutes, or hopefully at least 29. And if that's the case at 5,100 on DraftKings, I can get on board with that. He's had a couple ugly starts, sure, but he's also averaging 1.05 fantasy points per minute on the year, faces a Charlotte team that, is one of the worst defensive squads in the league. You could make sense of Isaiah Thomas really easily at that price point.
Same page. We'll hop to Charlotte now. So this is just something I noticed. The Wizards, in terms of FanDuel points over the last 30 days, which is basically the entire season. Today would be, I think, the full 31 days. They've scored 0.99 FanDuel points per minute, just weighted by the minutes that I have in this game. The Hornets are at 0.84. That is such a ginormous. That's how bad the Hornets are. Because it's not like the Wizards are good.
Man, that's brutal.
Yeah, 0.84 FanDuel points per minute as a whole for the team. Devontae Graham stands out, 7,400 on FanDuel, 6,900 on DK. He plays 34, 36 minutes, something in that neighborhood. He's going to be a guy that's a part of my lineups in, I don't want to say in bulk, but he'll be a guy that I get quite a bit of. Feels sort of similar about Terry Rozier, just at a slightly lower price tag. The 6,200 on DraftKings looks better there. I don't know, Miles Bridges, Malik Monk, Nick Batum. They have guys that are like mildly viable, but they're all just sort of unappealing.
Yeah, very mildly viable. To me, I think two things. The backcourt is where it's at least somewhat appealing. Devontae Graham, Terry Rozier. It's a bad Washington Wizards team, and that's the entire reason and the only reason that I'd be considering it. I think you keep the analysis very simple here. It's a 233 total. It's the highest over-under on the slate by 5 points. Wizards have a 119.8 total, 113.25 for the Hornets, which is still a top 5 mark on this slate. So take all of that into consideration, and then factor in how bad the Washington defense has been, and you just have a recipe for success. Now, the question and the concern is it going to come from Graham? Is it going to come from Rozier? Is it going to come from both? Neither of us can really get that right, because it's not like you're terribly concerned about Isaiah Thomas defense or Bradley Beal defense. So they're both going to have opportunities, and you're just going to have to make the right decision. By the way, before I forget, I mentioned this a lot, but it's important to mention again. The Hornets are allowing the most points in the paint of any team this season. Them and the Portland Trailblazers, in terms of just not being able to defend putbacks and second chance points, have really, really struggled. The Hornets, though, points in the paint, 54.1 per game. So it just kind of gives it kind of solidifies your argument for a guy like Wagner.
Oh, for sure. And Bryant.
Yeah.
The Hornets stink.
They stink.
I will have more Hornets than I expect to, but it's going to be all sort of like 5 different 5% guys.
Right.
That's rarely appealing.
What are your thoughts on Graham and Rozier?
I mean, Graham grades out really well for me, actually.
Me too.
He is, relative to salary, my 6th ranked guy on DraftKings right now.
Yeah, it's a good price. And the opportunity's there. Pace up spot. Right? I mean, it is a very favorable game in terms of Wizards playing at a top 5 pace. They have a 115 defensive rating this year. The only team that's been worse than them is the Warriors in that category. So, like, while the Hornets are not very good, and you did a good job of summing up why it's hard to really fall in love with anybody here, that's why I think that Graham or Rozier, one of these guys is going to have a game. Yeah. Who it's going to be, I don't know. But I think some mix and match is not the worst idea, just because it's a phenomenal matchup.
Yeah, the pace is up, the defense is bad, the total is big. Neither team, you shouldn't really expect either team to go crazy. Like, this could just be you would think it'd be a fairly lucrative fantasy game if it wasn't for the fact that the Hornets basically don't put up fantasy points.
Right, for sure.
I think that's probably enough on these two.
I think it's actually a pretty good breakdown, if you ask me.
Honestly, it is. I kind of wish we didn't have the 11 o'clock stop, because I think that we could really get into this, and if we still had our old school. Lofty and I are going to be here for 2.5 hours type show.
Oh, it was not like, it was a blessing and a curse to have no cap on minutes for this.
Yeah. It's probably good in the long run that we have a hard out. Sometimes I just wish I could bump everything 15 minutes.
I know. I hear you. Yeah. I mean, because sometimes we've been doing pretty good about coming in right under it.
Yeah. Brooklyn Nets, Sacramento Kings, 110 implied total for the Nets, 106.5 for the Kings. Kyrie still out for Brooklyn. Jared Allen is probable on the Sacramento side. This is where things could get squirrely. Corey Joseph questionable, Bogdan Bogdanovic questionable, Trevor Ariza out. If that breaks in a way where those guys sit, Sacramento becomes even more appealing than they are right now. We will start on the Brooklyn side, where I will be jamming Spencer Dinwiddie back into every lineup I have. Yep. I don't mean every, like, this is not like a true lock button, but one of the best values on the slate. Still just 7,500 on FanDuel. He's 7,600 on DraftKings. Not as great of a price, but FanDuel and Yahoo, only $29 on Yahoo. Get him on those two sites for sure. Still play him on DraftKings and Fantasy Draft. 1.1 fantasy points per minute. Just overall this season, looking to get 34 plus minutes. That says nothing for the fact that he's playing without Kyrie Irving right now and Karis LeVert. Is there any way you're not getting the Spencer Dinwiddie?
No, and you know what's crazy? I've been looking at ownership, after lock on every slate. Dinwiddie at 6K was like 50% in the big, DraftKings tournament. Yeah. The large field, like 100K, $8, 10, whatever it is each night. And then I think last game he was like 38%. It's and yeah, he was 70, 200, whatever he was, but still, people.
What are people doing?
So okay, here's what it is. People love value when they feel like it's really good value, and what I mean by that is they love the $3,500 guy when someone is out, even if that $3,500 guy isn't good.
Yeah.
I think there's this idea that, hey, Dinwiddie's the backup to Irving, and he's just a backup. Dinwiddie could be a viable starting point guard on like more than half of the teams.
Every team would want him in their rotation for more than 24 minutes a game.
Every single team in the league. He's an excellent player. So I do think there's something to that. Man, $7,600 backup. But it's funny because last year people were paying $6,600, $6,800 for Terry Rozier.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing. So I don't know, but I think Dinwiddie remains a very solid play. Having a 30+% usage guy in Irving off the floor is great. 250 minutes without Irving this season. And I could always run it back to last year without D'Angelo Russell too, but we'll take the 250.
I have it here.
All right, well, give me that after 33% usage this season, 34% assist rate, 1.22 fantasy points per minute. And don't forget, with that production, you're getting Dinwiddie, who logged 37 minutes last game.
I have him in for 34. He's still my best value on FanDuel. I ran it back for last year. No LeVert, no Russell, no Irving. So all of
LeVert
last year
too. Thank you. Yeah.
All of last year plus this season, 31% usage rate, assist rate of 39.8%, fantasy points per minute 1.14 on FanDuel. That's pretty steady to what he's done this season from a fantasy points perspective. But his bars have gotten so much wider when he's got 31% unit usage, because if he's cooking, he's got the ball too.
No question. And on DraftKings, you got 31% usage, you got 39% assist rate, you got that double upside too, and you'll take that all day. It might not seem like a lot, but all those bonuses can be very helpful. I don't see myself getting away from Dinwiddie. Is he a lock button in that like a Giannis last night? No, of course not. But the mid range doesn't have that much today. Like the bulk of talent the bulk of like great plays are kind of concentrated at the top. But you have a handful that are really, really good here in this mid range. Spencer Dinwiddie's absolutely one of them.
He will be. I would expect him to be my most owned shooting guard unless things get really hectic.
Okay.
I think Torian.
How much is he on FanDuel again?
$75, $100 cheaper.
Okay. Even at 76 on DraftKings, though.
I still love him. Torian Prince is $400 cheaper on FanDuel than DraftKings. That's a decent value. Joe Harris is $100 cheaper on FanDuel than DraftKings. That's a decent value. Garrett Temple gets 30 minutes. You need to look at him for $4,200 as a potential pump play as of right now. There's a lot to like here for Brooklyn.
Yeah, mostly for me, Dinwiddie.
Yeah.
But I'm not opposed to a couple of these other guys either. Jared Allen is probable, so that's good. But man, he's having a good season, producing well over a fantasy point per minute on the year. There is that same concern that we talked about with Washington, where, if DeAndre Jordan comes off the bench and just starts producing monster numbers, what's that going to look like? Well, you just have to run that risk sometimes. But 1.07 fantasy points per minute this season for Jared Allen, not a bad number at all. He's giving us quality double upside. His rebounding too, I think, has stood out. Now, the thing with Allen is, what are you willing to pay for somebody like that? And when he was in that 4,700 range, you loved it. There's just simply no way you're paying 6,400 for him on DraftKings. You just can't do that. And I feel the same way about a lot of other players. So Jared Allen comment there was basically setting up 6K Torian Prince. I'm not getting there. Same basket as Jared Allen. Good play, but do I pay for him? Probably not. Joe Harris is $5,000. Probably not getting there. Maybe a sprinkle in tournaments, but his range of outcomes is so significant, but the downside there is pretty big too. I mean, he'd give you 15 fantasy points, and I just don't know if you need to get to any of these guys outside of Dinwiddie. You may have different opinions on FanDuel.
Yeah, the FanDuel prices where everybody's like a couple $100 cheaper than DK, I think it changes the equation a little bit. I'm not as enamored with everyone else. I mean, even Dinwiddie is not even close to as appealing as he is on FanDuel.
Right.
We just got ownership. So Dinwiddie at 31% on FanDuel, 18 on DK. Harris and Temple Low 20s on FanDuel, low teens on DraftKings. No one else really grabbing any love. I'm just going to circle back to the other two games just to hit everybody with ownership of everything that's passed. Tons of ownership coming to FanDuel Pistons. Drummond at 26, Griffin at 21, Kennard at 20, Rose at 15, Langston Galloway 34. Drummond and Langston Galloway both in double digits on DraftKings. On the Hawks, it's only Trey Young and Jabari Parker into double digits. For the Wizards and Hornets game, Beal, Bryant, Isaiah Thomas, all in the teens range. Troy Brown at 34% on FanDuel. I'd love to know who's projecting him that high. That's causing that to happen. That'll go down. Devontae Graham and Terry Rozier, both in the teens on FanDuel. On DraftKings, it's sort of like what we said. Graham, Rozier, Zeller, Bridges, Washington, Monk, Batum, all getting bits of ownership.
Right. All of that sounds okay outside of the Brown one.
Yep. Let's hit on the Kings. Massive pace up spot for the Kings, which is kind of crazy. They've actually slowed down now without De'Aaron Fox on the helm, so a little bit of a pace up spot for them here. If Bogdanović plays, he's one of my favorite. I want him and Spencer Dinwiddie in a ton of my lineups. $7,300 on FanDuel, $600 more expensive on DraftKings, and a crazy $24 on Yahoo. Now, up in the air if he plays. We should know that information by lock. He's not in the ownership projections as of right now. We've got Rashon Holmes at $6,500 on FanDuel, $63 on DK. I love him at that number. He's been really good this year.
Yeah, he has been very good.
Like a 30 plus minus or something stupid. Craziness.
I mentioned before Fox got hurt, and then the next game they were playing without him. It was the first one they were playing without him. Before that, I mentioned that, mark my words, Bogdanović will be the guy to target here. It will not be Buddy Hield. And that doesn't mean that Buddy Hield isn't going to have some good games, right? I think he will. But Buddy Hield is not going to take on a facilitator role, a playmaking role. And maybe once in a while he'll fall into a handful of assists. But Bogdanović is your de facto point guard now, and it's obvious. Corey Joseph is not going to inherit that type of work. It's not going to happen. And someone's, but Lavi, 14 assists last game. All right, fine. Yeah, he had a bunch of assists. For that type of game from Corey Joseph, when I say few and far between, I mean probably never going to happen again. Not to mention Bogdanović coming off the bench.
Yeah.
He's just been spectacular. He's really good. He is going to be your top, if not one, your second leading scorer. He's going to lead the team in assist rate with De'Aaron Fox off the court. His steal rate this season is another thing that should not go overlooked. If you see the type of fantasy totals that he's been able to tack on because he's getting a lot of swipes, that's another benefit. 2.7% steal rate on the season is very solid. And then take De'Aaron Fox off the court and everything changes. So he plays. I'm with you. Bogdanović is just really good. And I mean, he's a legitimately good player. This isn't just opportunity. So I love him, and I'm willing to pay for him. Do I love the price point? No, but I think 73 on FanDuel, obviously friendly. 76 on DraftKings isn't crazy though.
Yeah.
Against the Brooklyn Nets in a game that we should expect to see quite a bit of scoring.
I want to hit on one thing quickly. We got a super chat in from Adrian while you were talking. $5. Thanks for my morning routine, fellas. Quite welcome, man. Thanks for joining us. Yeah.
Appreciate all of those donations, man.
So I really like Corey Joseph today.
I bought this with a super draft donation yesterday.
There you go. Super chat.
What did I say? Super chat?
Yeah. Wrong.
And some YSRP.
Wrong show. Yeah, Corey Joseph, 4,900 on FanDuel if he's in, I think is a really good value because there's no value out there. Corey Joseph is out. We've got $3,500 flat min Yogi Ferrell on FanDuel. He's $3,500 on DraftKings as well, and he is going to become a very interesting value play today.
Yeah, there's not really much else that we need to discuss. This is one where you say he's very cheap. The minutes will be there in the event that Corey Joseph is out. And then you just kind of ride that wave, and hopefully it doesn't crash too soon, because you don't like you've said throughout the show, this type of value is very difficult to come by on this slate. There's not a lot there whatsoever. So if that opens up, even trying to be different there, it's probably doable, but that means foregoing a lot of really good plays. And if you look at what we've seen from the rotation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We had 9 players in the rotation last game, right? 9 players. And if you take Corey Joseph out of it, maybe we add another one, but whether it's 8 or 9, that means that you don't have a lot of depth here in terms of let's just run 5 different guys at the point guard position. I would put Yogi Ferrell easily above 30 minutes, easily.
Yeah, if Corey Joseph is out, Yogi Ferrell's probably going to be one of the better value plays of the day.
Might play 36 minutes, 37 minutes.
He's going to be out there a lot. And if Bogdanovich is out, holy shit.
Oh, dude, it might play 42.
Yeah, he's going to need to be out there. That's probably it for Nets Kings.
Yeah, but a pretty fun game here. It's just one that I'm glad this game isn't in Sacramento, so we'll have the news relatively early.
Bulls and Heat, 105 implied total for the Bulls, 109.5 for the Heat. We're not going to have much to talk about here. Not that I can tell. On FanDuel, the only person on either side of this game in double digits in ownership is Bam Adebayo at 8,600.
Yeah.
On DraftKings, Jimmy Butler gets to 12% at 8,300. I do like that price quite a bit. Lauri Markkanen gets to 13% at 6K on DraftKings. I like Butler's price and Bam's price on Yahoo more than anything that we're going to talk about. They are Butler at 39, Bam at 33. But Miami's defense is really good. Unless we get some news that more people are going to be out for Chicago, I have very little to no interest in anyone here. And then on the Miami side, I like Kendrick Nunn a lot for 5,700 on FanDuel. I'm a little surprised to see his ownership be projected so low, but no one is grading out as like fantastic plays. This is not that kind of game.
It's not. Jimmy Butler, like you said, 39 on Yahoo is not bad, but then I would at least urge you to take a look at some of the guys that are priced around him, and that price becomes a little bit less friendly. I don't have an issue with Butler, and I'm just going to touch on both of these teams here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Markkanen finally got a decent game from him. He was on track to play 32 minutes, by the way, but that blowout took away, I think, the final 3 minutes of that game, maybe 2.5. So, he would have had around 32. Finally, a decent game from Markkanen, but, unfortunately, the rebounding still wasn't all that impressive. Wendell Carter Jr. At the 5 is someone that's rebounding really well. And he's definitely doing a decent amount to take opportunities away from Markkanen there when they're both on the court together. So if you were to say Markkanen's an okay play at 6K, I do not like the matchup though. I think it's a difficult spot for him, but I wouldn't argue against it. And then Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler has just been so good at contributing across the board. Blocks, steals, rebounds, assists. He shot 3. This is what you get from Butler. He shot 3 of 16 last game and still had 46 DraftKings points. So I value that. Yeah. But he was also 7,700. He's seen a price hike, $500 up. A lot of these guys are actually good plays, but and just routinely consistent players like Adebayo and Butler. But are you going to be able to get there is the question. And very similar to what we said about what I said about Detroit's front court. That's the trouble I have here. Going 8K plus for Butler and Adebayo on some slates would make a lot of sense. But when I can get down to that 7K range or maybe even 6K on a couple guys to get me up to a Doncic or something, that just feels to make more sense, even though I haven't made lineups yet.
That makes perfect sense to me. Bam's appeal for me is really the fact that he's an $8,600 power forward on FanDuel.
Yeah. Dude, he's been awesome this season. Unbelievably reliable. And once again, one of the reasons for that, similar to Jimmy Butler, just in a different fashion, is look what he does. It's the rebounds, it's the scoring, it's the steals, it's the blocks. 1.4 blocks per game, 1.7 steals, 10.3 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and 13.8 points. That's a super well-rounded average, or those are well-rounded averages for Bam, no question.
I don't have anything else to touch on for the rest of this game.
No, we can move on. Get to some good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We only have 35 minutes left already. I feel like we've been talking for 10 minutes. Like we're good at this.
Yeah, right. The good thing is, even if we came up short, you don't have to run it into the next show like we do with the deeper dive.
Exactly. Oh, and we're not coming up short. That's for sure.
No, I never do.
No. Oklahoma City Thunder, LA Lakers, 103.75 implied total for the Thunder, 108.25 for the Lakers. I didn't know my dog was in here right now. He's like making noises while he's asleep. Freaked me out.
I thought my dog was choking the other day. Josh, I'm not joking. I got down and I was about to try the doggy Heimlich maneuver, which I have looked up before just in case. She's doing some super weird stuff. And then I was like, oh, she's breathing. But yeah, don't know what I would do. Whenever I think like something's wrong with her, or I think she's like sick or something happened, all I do is offer her like food or a treat.
Yeah.
And if she eats that, we're in good shape. Because there have been times where they, like, as they don't. And that's when I'm like, oh God, what's wrong? Because this dog's so food motivated.
That's what I just did. And it turns out it was your dog needs to have the gallbladder removed immediately.
Was he or she eating?
He was not eating. And then he was laying in so like we've got L-shaped steps. But there's like a landing where the bottom section meets the top section. And he was just laying in the landing of the stairs, which is not a place that the dogs have ever sat for even more than 5 seconds. So,
and they can't tell you they don't feel good, which is a shame. You got to figure that shit out.
He's like, oh, I'm going to go lay in the weirdest spot in the house. Use your head, man. Anyway.
Well, at least he's all right.
Yeah, he's never better now.
I like dogs more than people, man. I don't even know if it's close.
Oh, it's not close for me. I mean, I like the best people better than the best dogs, but they're hard to find.
Of course. I mean, here's the thing.
Dogs
don't talk back. They have unconditional love for you. Like,
can you imagine if they did? Come here, buddy. Come here. Fuck you, man. I'm going this way.
Eat shit.
Yeah. Sorry, Tom.
But they don't. They're just great. We'll say this for another time. But most people, dog lovers would agree that like we don't deserve them. That's all.
Agreed. Chris Paul, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Both.
Now cats on the other hand. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Chris Paul, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, right around 10% ownership. Same for Gallo and Schroeder on FanDuel. Shai gets to 17 on DK. Adams gets to 14 on DraftKings, where he's 4,800. That's about what I think of this team. Like, I'll have 5 to 10% of a couple of these guys, but nobody's a crazy value. Nobody's in an amazing spot. Lakers defense is really good.
They're very good. This team is, totally different than before. And what's funny about them is, you look at them and you say, hey, LeBron James and Anthony Davis are going to do virtually everything from an offensive standpoint. Kuzma's getting some opportunities, right? But still, clear backseat role. What's interesting though is the defense they have on this team is extraordinary. So spot up 3-and-D guys like Danny Green, even if you're not producing offensively, very good defender. Avery Bradley remains out, but he's still a solid on-ball defender as well. LeBron James, when he tries, good defender. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. It's so odd that they brought in a ton of 3-and-D guys that play solid defense and don't have any skills as ball handlers, but it does make sense because how often are you going to need somebody like that? And now they have Rajon Rondo, who he's perfectly suited to do that. Rondo being back, I know a lot of people say like he's not good for teams, but he's good from a fantasy standpoint. And because they have so much defense already, like so many just perimeter defenders that don't do anything but get a shot up if you throw it to them and they, quick release, boom, they don't touch it again till the fourth quarter. Rondo kind of feels like that missing piece, doesn't he?
Kind of, yeah. They need someone to do what he did. They just need like a better version of Rondo, honestly. Although maybe they don't. They've been fantastic so far. Who knows? Maybe it's Alex Caruso.
Caruso, I like that.
I got to touch on two things from YouTube quickly. We don't need to dwell on it. One, Josh and Laffy need a shot clock, which is hilarious and super true. And then two,
that is a great idea.
Yeah. Imagine I had one for Eddie for a while. Imagine Loffy's dog telling him the Sixers suck.
Oh,
Sleeping in the
man.
cold tonight, buddy.
The Sixers won a game, and she's sitting down, and I'll be like, all right, high five. And usually she'll be real quick, hit me with the high five, and she didn't. And I said, this bitch is a Knicks fan. I got her Sixers bandana and everything, man.
Nice.
She's Phillied up around here.
It's a shame. I don't have much to say for this game. Oklahoma City is filler, and I slightly like LeBron more than AD on FanDuel, and I'm not super fond of either one of them on DraftKings.
No, neither am I. Here's why. As good as LeBron's been, would you rather have him or Doncic? At $100 difference.
I have them literally equal.
Okay. I would prefer Doncic, but with Anthony Davis, it wasn't more than a few days ago that this guy was 9,200 on DraftKings. Yeah. Now he's up to 10-1. He's going to have some very solid games, but does he become a priority when you have so many guys? I won't do it, but just rattle off like the top 10 highest priced players on DraftKings, and you're going to like quite a bit of them because of their price matchup or just overall skill set more than Anthony Davis today.
Yeah, I don't love their prices on DraftKings. I think there are better options out there.
So yeah, I have Doncic. You have Doncic and LeBron projected the same, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, that is a coin flip for me.
Okay.
We'll see how that shakes out closer to the clock. All right.
The Thunder are a pretty good defensive team is one thing that I think is at least worth mentioning. They're not amazing, but 104.7 possessions per 48, or sorry, 104.7 points per 100 possessions. Pretty good. Like that's a pretty good defense. So I do think it's a less appealing spot. I'm not too worried about it, but Steven Adams does a good job of anchoring it. And while Davis can produce in any matchup, now that you're paying a premium for him, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get there.
Yeah, on a per possession basis, the Thunder have limited fantasy points by 2%. So slightly above average.
Mm-hmm.
We're at the halfway point. We've got 28 minutes to go. This is going to be a disaster.
We're fine.
Free content for today. The deep dive. So Adam's deep dive will be free today. NFL Spotlight article and NHL rankings. Coming up immediately after this, Chris Randone and Manny Laura will be talking some NFL strategy. We'll have our Awesemo Odds betting show with Ben Rasa, Jordan Frank, and Nolan Kelly. At 1 p.m. Eastern, we'll have the boss man Alex Baker back with Nolan Kelly doing a Yahoo-specific strategy show. Jake will have his 4 p.m. strategy show for hockey. And then deeper dive, Alex and Adam from 5 to 6. And then from 6 to 7, myself and Spags sending you into the weekend. Tune into all of it. But please hit that like button on this video. I think Lofty and I are killing it. Don't be afraid to reward us with a thumbs up.
Well, that would be so kind of you.
Well, here we go. I don't know how we're going to get these last 4 games in 5 minutes, but Philadelphia 76ers, San Antonio Spurs, 114.75 implied total for the Sixers, 107.25 for the Spurs. Josh Richardson questionable. I have him in as of right now. Ownership is big on DK, however. 13% for Joel Embiid, 30% for Al Horford at 5,700, 27% for Tobias Harris at 6,200. I love Horford on DraftKings at 5,700. That's going to be difficult to get away from. Spurs are bad. Talk to me about what you like from your Philadelphia 76ers.
Let's start with Embiid. I really, really, really like him here a lot. Here's something here's a big stat, a meaningful stat. Joel Embiid again this season, as he does pretty much every year, leads the entire league in post-up points and has a frequency in the post of 35%. Josh, that's an insane number, okay? If you look at compared to other guys, like Joe Val is second at 31%, but only 4 possessions per game. Take someone, only 20 some minutes per game. I meant like Aldridge is usually the guy that makes the most sense to be number 2 behind Embiid. 27% frequency in the post. 8.2 possessions per game in the post from Embiid, 35.2 frequency. But here's the great part. 1.09 points per possession is still one of the best marks in basketball. So it's not like he hasn't been efficient. He has been efficient in the post. If you watch him do his work, it's very impressive. The Spurs allowing the third most points and second most points per possession on post-ups this season. It's just a really good spot that Embiid should absolutely be able to take advantage of. And, usually I don't use play type data as like the end all be all, and I won't do that here either. But there's no doubt about it that a team that has really struggled to defend in the post against a guy that leads the league in scoring and possessions and is one of the best per possession guys in the post has to be considered a strong play. My only concern is because he's playing the second of a back-to-back, what are his minutes going to look like? Will he be limited? I'm willing to take the shot in tournaments. In cash games, I don't think you need to because there are so many other good plays, but that price is super friendly. And if he does get those 32 minutes, you're going to really wish you had Embiid. Yeah. Last thing, Cantor says, need a Laffy tangent here. Let the chef cook. What a good line. Anyway, that's where I'm at on Embiid.
Okay. Would you rather have Joel Embiid or Al Horford at 5,700?
Well, that's apples to apples, isn't it?
You know what I mean.
I'd definitely still rather have Joel Embiid.
Okay. I get it. I mean, we're talking about two very different things here. 5,700 for Horford is just a really ridiculous price tag.
Is it though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Ben Simmons is 8,100. Al Horford has put up 2/100ths of a fantasy point less than him per minute this season.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm okay with it. I don't think it's as egregious as you do. So there's that, but I definitely like Al Horford, and he's popping as great value. Like you said, he's 30% projected ownership right now?
Yeah, he is my fifth best guy on a dollar for dollar basis today on DK.
All right, I'm not opposed to it. I'll just say this one. So he's played 86 minutes with Simmons and Embiid this year. Yeah. Now that doesn't sound that you might say, oh, well, they're staggering him a lot. They're staggering him, but also mind you, Simmons missed a few games, Embiid missed a few games. So those minutes are certainly going to increase. Mm-hmm. They're going to close this game out together. They're going to play probably 20 plus minutes together as a threesome, and 0.61 DraftKings points per minute for Horford in those situations. 9% usage. The more that he's on the court with Simmons and Embiid, 9% usage. Yes, 9.
How many minutes?
86 minutes, 168 possessions, okay. 9% usage.
Whew.
So I think those are small cause for concerns there. If both Simmons and Embiid aren't going to be limited, there's no reason to believe Simmons will be. And if we're going to start seeing those starting five, or at least those three, play more minutes together now that the two of them are healthy, it is something that kind of alarms me.
That's a fair point. Something that I'm going to look into after this show is over. One last thing we need to hit on here, and then we need to turn up the dial of speed, although there's a couple things that we'll be able to skip. What'd you think?
Turn it up, baby.
What'd you think of Ben Simmons 3?
Oh, I got erect. Let's put it that way.
I get it. I think a lot of people did.
I will never forget that day and where I was at that moment.
One of those moments.
I was in my office at my chair where I am for most of the day.
Yeah.
I'd say I had a hockey game. I play hockey every Wednesday, and usually it's around like 8:00. So I have to leave around 7. The wonderful thing was this game wasn't until 9:10. So I was still home as it happened. And it's crazy. I missed it when it was live. Our boy, I think it was Don't Embiid My Status. It might've been El Negro Loco. It was Don't Embiid My Status said, Laffy, corner 3 from Simmons. I was like, get out of here, dude. He's like, no, I am dead serious. Corner 3 from Ben Simmons. And I go back, I look, Twitter's blowing up. I watched the replay 100 times. I think we were all excited. And we got a ton of Philly fans in the chat, which makes it really cool. And it was just, look, the most, everyone's like, oh, well, and I know we got to move on here, but you shouldn't have asked me the question.
I knew what I was getting myself into.
I know. everyone says, well, everyone's erupting in cheers because of everyone's erupting with cheers because he's doing something that he should have always been doing. Yeah, but he wasn't doing it. Like, we get it. He should be shooting threes. Fine. But he wasn't. And he did. And it was a beautiful shot. And everybody was excited. And then we almost lost to the Knicks.
Could you imagine if it was a different industry? Like if he was an accountant and he was like, no, I will never use a calculator or computer. I can only write all of these numbers in
Great
pen.
point. But that's why I think Brett Brown as a coach,
they'd be like, yeah, you're fucking fired.
Yeah, but really, you're right. But that's why Brett Brown, like, are you really just going to say, hey, bud, don't worry about shooting. Don't worry. No, get as JV Smoove would say, get up in that ass.
Yeah. Like, I don't dig ditches with shovels. I only use my hands.
Right. We're like, hey, you'll become a much better ditch digger and far more effective if you use shovels. No, I get blisters.
Can't do it.
All
man.
right, you're out.
Can't do it. Anyway, for the Spurs, the highest owned person on either side, FanDuel or DraftKings, is Aldridge at 4%. I'm cool with that. I don't have a Spur to talk about. If Derek White is out, pay attention to what's happening in the backcourt. Something may open up. None of these guys are priced like I want to just jam them into everything.
No, I don't really have much to add there outside of, Derek White being sidelined could change things up a little bit. And then Deshante Murray, the 19 minutes off the bench, man, another good per minute game. But I mean, how do you get to anybody here with confidence?
You don't.
By the way, I have this is a total hunch. So I just want to say it because if it comes to fruition, it'll feel good. But I don't see myself playing him at all. I feel like this is going to be a very big Aldridge game. No reason outside of just a feeling.
Could you imagine if it was? What a weird feeling to have against Al Horford and Joel Embiid in the playoffs.
I know. I don't know, man. It's an odd feeling.
Dallas Mavericks, Cleveland Cavaliers. Mavs 10-point favorites, 115 implied total for the Mavs. We've got Luka and Porzingis in the teens in ownership on both sites. A little bit of love going to Dorian Finney-Smith on FanDuel. Couldn't say that without laughing. Maxi Kleber for 10% on DK as well. I actually prefer Porzingis to Luka on DK, where he's 7,300. I'm still interested in Luka. I'm going to have exposure to him. He's incredible. Not going too crazy, though. The price tag is finally at a point where I can't just jam him in on a 10-gamer.
Let me ask you this. What type of exposure do you think you have to Harden and LeBron?
I will have more, if we're talking DraftKings, I will have more Harden than Doncic. I assume that LeBron and Doncic would be relatively similar, somewhere in that 10 to 15% range.
I think Doncic is a better play than James Harden.
Okay.
So that's why I would have more Doncic than Harden. Just very quickly, man, he's averaging 1.82 fantasy points per minute on the season. 1.82. Giannis is like 1.94 now, which is just insane. Yeah. It's obliterating any like idea that, players couldn't consistently do that. He's doing it. But 1.82 fantasy points per minute on the season. The other day for Doncic against the Warriors, played 26 minutes. He averaged 2.96 fantasy points per minute. 35, 10, 11, triple-double. Insanity. Imagine everyone saying, oh, God, this game is going to blow out. Stay far away from Doncic. Ridiculous.
Silly.
But James Harden this season, still very productive, no question. But he's averaging 1.67 fantasy points per minute. So 0.14 fantasy points per minute better on the year Luka Doncic has been. Sound like Yoda there. But yeah, like I think Doncic should be the same price as James Harden. Absolutely. And there's no Westbrook in Dallas. There's a Kristaps Porzingis, but he clearly isn't eating into anything. Doncic is doing this on his own. He leads the team in assists, in rebounds, in usage, in potential assists, in rebound chances, in touches per game, everything. He's the guy. And I don't see him slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, everything you said is 100% true. Like it's not like I've got a counter take. It's basically just price and only price. 52 on Yahoo stands out the most, but what stands out really the most is Seth Murphy's $15 super chat that just came in. Josh and Laffy, hope y'all appreciate this. I had to run out to my car with no coat to get my card, but you guys are the best. Helped me take second last night in a $12 single entry in DK. NBA
Nice.
$1,300.
Nice, dude.
Awesome,
Congrats.
man.
And
awesome.
We really appreciate the you never asked for like acknowledgement or recognition, but that's very nice of you to do that. And I'm glad we could help you along.
Congrats on the second place too.
It's awesome, man.
1,300
nice
bills.
Chunk of change right there.
Absolutely. Enjoy it, man. Enjoy it.
Single entry too.
Yeah. That's awesome. Boy, I mean, yeah, like I don't think that there's much to say. Like we know we're getting out of Luka. He projects really well. He's got my third highest overall projection on the slate. I'm not trying to ignore him. As value opens up on this day, he's going to look progressively better and better. But for right now, I don't see the value that allows me to get to those top flight guys with regularity. And that's why I've got a little bit more focus on that Drummond, Westbrook, Butler, Paul George tier.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I get it. But what I'm saying is if it comes down for me between Harden and Luka and LeBron, I would have more Luka than both of them.
I get it.
I have him as, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, there's no like, I could see James Harden playing 40 minutes today in LA against the Clippers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And it's a very distinct possibility that he has a very good game, but Luka's got Cleveland too.
Yeah,
so
it's a decent spot. Terrible defense. On the Cleveland side, no one in double digits in ownership. Tristan Thompson should be back for 5,700. I kind of like Tristan Thompson on DraftKings. Is that craziness?
Yeah. Say that again.
Is Tristan Thompson crazy on DK if he plays?
No, I don't think so. But how many minutes are we going to get from him?
I put him in for 29.
29? That seems about right. I don't have an issue with that. Somebody says, first time I've agreed with you in forever, Laffy.
I figured that was coming for me.
Why don't you usually agree with me, dude? I mean, I'm a pretty rational fella.
I've got an answer for you. You just don't want it.
Okay. I guess I don't want it.
No. Dumb. Well.
What are you thinking about the rest of this team? Tristan Thompson, I get it, man, but I don't like if we were projecting him for 32 minutes or something, I think we'd both have a lot more interest. Were you talking DraftKings or FanDuel, by the way?
DraftKings, 5,700.
5,700.
It's a great spot for him. Like Dallas, not a particularly active rebounding team, so
yeah, cool with me.
Otherwise, I don't know. I mean, nobody's getting any ownership. I guess Colin Sexton on DK looks okay at 5K, but I'm not looking for anything.
Do you like Porzingis?
Yeah, I do. On DraftKings for 73, I think that's a pretty nice price.
Agreed. Those are Doncic and Porzingis for me. Iggy said if you wanted to get a little bit of Tristan Thompson, that's fine, but Cleveland as a whole is one of the least appealing teams on the slate.
Yes, they are. 3 to go, 12 minutes to go. I think we're going to hit this one on the number. Denver Nuggets, Boston Celtics. Nuggets 105 implied total, Celtics just north of 100. In terms of ownership, Kemba Walker is at 15 on FanDuel, Jamal Murray at 11 on FanDuel, Jokic 10% on DraftKings. Those are the only three in double digits. I think Jaylen Brown looks pretty good for 6,700 on FanDuel, where we don't really have much value. Little bits of Jokic and Murray are fine. Little bit of Kemba is fine. This is just a good basketball game. It's not a good fantasy spot.
100% agree. I just don't like this.
No.
The Warriors have a 98 implied total, 111.5 for Utah. Forget about the blowout. It's just, or I'm sorry, Denver, Boston you were talking about. I got them mixed up with the 9 p.m. games. 206.5 total. 105 implied total for the Nuggets, 101 for Boston. So both teams projected with some of the lowest implied totals on the slate. You look at this, Josh, and you've got the Boston Celtics second lowest behind the Jazz or behind the Warriors, and the Nuggets fourth lowest. So just a very low projected output from both sides. Is Jokic okay at 86? Yes, but once again, I don't even love Drummond, but I surely get to Drummond over Jokic at the same price on DraftKings.
Me too, by a mile.
Right, and you could say the same thing for a lot of players in this range. Jason Tatum, for example, there's so much positional flexibility on DraftKings that you could take anyone at any position really at a similar price and say, I'd rather have him.
Yeah, I'd rather have Porzingis for $200 cheaper.
Yep. I'd rather have Dinwiddie. Again, different position, but it's not hard to make that work when you're looking just at basic roster construction. Rather have Dinwiddie, rather have Porzingis. There's a few guys that I would rather have that are priced around him. And I feel that way for pretty much everybody in this game.
Yeah, we are on
maybe
the same
Daniel
page.
Tice is coming off a really, really great game. I don't expect another 31 minutes. I think that's more of an outlier based on his in-game performance. And Brad Stevens kind of just sticking with him. But yeah, sub 5K on DraftKings, is that crazy? No, it's not, especially if no value opens up. Power forward, 4,900 on FanDuel. Do I get it? I get it, but I don't love it. I'm just throwing it out there for a slate that doesn't have much at all in terms of value.
That works. Anything else you want to touch on for this one?
Really, there isn't.
Jazz Warriors, 113.25 for the Jazz, 97.75 for the Warriors. I've got Draymond in, but this could get real disgusting really fast. In terms of ownership, Rudy Gobert at 15% on FanDuel, 8,600. That looks pretty good to me. So does 35 on Yahoo. Nobody else in double digits outside of Mitchell on DK at 7,900. I like Gobert a little bit on FanDuel. I like Mitchell a little bit. I think Bojan Bogdanovic at 6,300 on FanDuel is probably my favorite play of anything from the Jazz. I have a hard time wanting to get to much here. Do you want anything from the Jazz? This is where blowouts are different because the Warriors might only have 65 points. The Jazz can blow them out without actually playing well.
Yeah. I mean, it happened with Doncic. He's a little bit different.
Yeah, they don't have that. I mean, that would be like if Mitchell decides to shoot a lot.
Yeah, and I have a feeling Draymond Green's going to throw himself down a flight of steps at some point just to get out for the season.
I wouldn't blame him.
I do think Rudy Gobert is very interesting here, though. But, Drummond, similar price. A lot of these guys, similar price. Where does he come in from a prioritize in terms of prioritizing him? I have him as a pretty decent play, though. And I think at 8,200, if I'm projecting him for the regular 35 minutes, Rudy Gobert becomes a very good play. It's just a matter of whether or not you want to do that. Probably don't get to a lot of Donovan Mitchell or anybody from Utah that really stands out. Gobert would be my favorite. And on the Warriors, now that these prices are coming up on Bowman and Burks, and the matchup is terrible, Eric Paschall, the matchup is terrible. Dude, how do you get there with any semblance of confidence?
Now, I'll have some Burks just because he's going to get minutes one way or the other.
He's the only one that I have some interest in.
I mean, if Draymond plays, I'll have a lot of Draymond.
I don't even think I will.
He's $5,800 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I know. I guess you have to.
If he plays, he's not playing because he's going to play 20 minutes. Like, he's just in. I can't avoid Draymond if he's in.
You're probably right. I hope he doesn't play for that reason.
Like, I want Draymond if he's in. I want Alec Burks regardless. And I'll have some Glenn Robinson on FanDuel at 4,600 because his minutes aren't going anywhere. He's like the only guy that plays the three.
I know. Yeah, you're right about Dre. I wish you weren't.
And if Draymond is out, then Kai Bowman at 4,800 on FanDuel becomes a value.
Yeah. Man, they're going to get decimated.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter, though.
No.
You got to play somebody.
I don't know how they stay in this game. We don't talk about, we ignore blowouts always. This is essentially the best defensive team in the league playing against what amounts to 85% of a G League team and maybe Draymond Green.
You know what this team is resembles, and I'm serious about this. The 76ers tank teams.
Yeah. Henry
That is
Mills
what this
and
is.
Tony Roten and all those other idiots.
Yeah, where Roten was your leading scorer.
Yeah.
And
he's Alec Burks.
This that's what this is. If Draymond Green is out, you're talking about a legitimate G League team. It's bad. And
they couldn't get to the rim against the Mavs. What are they going to do when it's Rudy Gobert?
Yeah, I know. So the thing is, like, just make sure to roster guys that are going to get the minutes in the blowout.
Yeah.
And I think most of them should.
I mean, if Draymond is out, everyone gets the minutes in a blowout.
Right. Exactly. Kai Bowman played the entire fourth quarter last game. Amari Spellman played the entire fourth quarter.
They only have 9 guys right now if Draymond plays. They only have 8 if he doesn't.
Right. Alec Burks will sit in a blowout, it looks like in a massive blowout. Alec Burks will sit. He only played 2 minutes in the fourth quarter. And Eric Paschall also. But and maybe that's different here, but we know that Bowman's going to keep playing through it. Akali Stein probably sits too. But Kai Bowman probably continues to play straight through it. And I'm sorry, by the way, it was Robinson and Burks that didn't play in the fourth quarter much. Paschall and Bowman played through the entire thing almost. Same with Amari Spellman, Marcus Chris, Jordan Poole. Yeah, it was ugly.
That's it. You just named the 8 guys. If 3 guys sit, there are only the guys that are left on the floor. I mean, right, the guys that don't get into foul trouble will be the guys that play more.
Paschall played 41 minutes. Does that mean that you would consider him?
Yeah,
at
for
40
sure.
minutes?
If Draymond is out, for sure.
Well, of course,
everybody's in play then.
Yeah.
All right. We got 4 minutes. Let's close it out. Clippers, Rockets. Clippers 4.5-point favorites at home against the Rockets. I'm assuming we're getting the full strength Clips here. And if that's the case, we've got Kawhi Leonard at 23% ownership on FanDuel. Paul George at 15%. He's at 13% on DraftKings. I would greatly prefer to have Paul George than Kawhi in this spot, given their prices.
No question. No question.
Ownership is not really bearing that out on FanDuel. It is a bit more on DraftKings, where Kawhi isn't much owned. After that, no one getting any ownership, and I think I'm pretty comfortable with that. I don't expect Lou Will and Pat Bev to be playing like 40 minutes again, although who knows. I like Kawhi a lot, but Paul George is the guy that I want from the Clippers side.
I mean, he went from playing 29 minutes to 37.
Yeah. I gave him 32 for this one, but I think that number is probably the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have him at 34 right now. Let me check. 34 minutes is where I feel pretty comfortable. Feel pretty comfortable at 34. Yeah. Even at 32 minutes, though, you're going to get a decent amount of him.
Oh, he's one of my best values on FanDuel, even at 32.
And we can't really run any numbers with him and Kawhi on the court. You know, they played one game together. So you look at Paul George, he's got like a 36% usage rate this season, but they've played one game. So, you know, you have to take that with a grain of salt. But George is going to see opportunities for sure. I love what Leonard's done this season, but he goes back to being the Noah Syndergaard of the NBA in that I'm not paying a mid or high 9K price tag for him. I'm probably not going to be paying a low 9K price point for him. Kawhi Leonard, it was fun while it lasted, but I don't see any way I can play him at 9,500 on DraftKings.
I agree. He's much more of a FanDuel play or a Yahoo play where positions are more fixed. On the Houston side, I mentioned it before. Of all the pay-up options, I think that I like James Harden the most. 11.5 on FanDuel, 11.7 on DK, 58 on Yahoo. As ownership or as value opens up, I think I get there a little bit more. I've got him in for 38 minutes. I think he's just going to have to be out there against the Clips. So he is my favorite thing from the Rockets and probably my favorite spend-up option. Very happy to get to Russ at 9K or 8,400 or 42 on Yahoo. I just think that those prices are good. I will end up with less Russ as value opens up because I'll start to get to more of the top guys instead of guys in his tier. And then PJ Tucker has to just be like talked about mildly just because the minutes are going to have to be there, I think, in this game. He's at 16% ownership on DraftKings, 12% on FanDuel. Harden at 15 on FanDuel, 3 on DraftKings. Sum it up for us. What do you like from the Rockets?
By the way, 13 minutes, Leonard, Williams, and George played on the court together. They all had at least a 28% usage rate. So, that's just pointing out that you're going to see very heavily concentrated opportunities on that Clippers team. Still got to wait till the salaries come down a bit, though. I just don't have a ton of love for Houston here. We know that teams can like the Pelicans. I mentioned this yesterday. They're so bad in transition defense that doesn't matter that guys like Holiday and Lonzo Ball are good defenders in the half court. So I'm not always too worried about defense, but this is going to be a pretty ferocious defense for the Clippers.
Yeah.
And, of course, Harden's always going to be in Westbrook at 8,400 would be my favorite option here, but he's actually not a priority to me. At the current time, nobody on this slate nobody in this game is a legitimate priority outside of Paul George.
There we go. We got through it. We hit it on the number. Randone
peeked his head in
there for a second. I had to give him the old bootski, but we're good. We got this. Tune in to Chris Randone and Manny Laura coming up immediately after this. They'll be live in a minute or two talking NFL. Lofty will be done for the rest of the day, so enjoy the rest of your Friday.
It's my one kind of day off of the 7-day week.
Check him out on Sirius on Saturdays and Sundays. I will be back for Live Before Lock later today. We've got a ton of content coming out. Tune into it. Lofty, do you got anything else before we get out of here?
No, have a great weekend. Good luck tonight. I'll see you back here on Monday, but tune in to Sirius XM Fantasy, Sirius 210 XM 87. Manny, Laura, and myself, Awesemo Radio tomorrow, every Saturday, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern, and every Sunday breaking down everything that happened throughout the NFL slate, 7 to 9 Eastern. Join us. Give us a call. Let's have some fun.
There you go. Thanks, Yahoo, for being the sponsor. We're out of here. Best of luck today.